Hey guys, how's it going? Marcelo here, and oh, what? Wait, 1 second. Hold on.
Whew, it's hard to breathe in that mask. But yeah, hey guys, how's it going? Marcelo here. Happy Halloween. It's that time of year again, and let's just get right into it. Let's talk about MediEvil. It's a game that I have not touched in a very long time. I have the demos, I believe, of both 1 and 2, on one of those old PlayStation Underground Jam Pack discs. And I actually just pretty recently-ish got the first game on. I'm not sure if the second game is on the PlayStation Store, but I got the first game again, so I've been playing that in the spirit of Halloween. So I remember it to like a certain extent. You know, I've gotten a little bit further than you're allowed to go in the demo. I don't even remember how far you can go. Anyway, I'm not getting to the main point at hand, which is the last time we saw Sir Daniel Fortesque was in PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale, and it was awesome as a throwback to like somebody didn't forget, you know, him. It's one of the more obscure. I would like to say that MediEvil is one of the more obscure first-party characters. We all know Crash, we all know Spyro, we all know Jack and Daxter and everyone else, but okay, so mainly from the PS1 era, it's Crash, it's Spyro, even Heihachi from Tekken, you know, just Tekken as a whole, and Tomb Raider, and Twisted Metal, and there's a lot. And MediEvil is obviously right up there with them. I'm not sure if Dan ever ended up in any like commercials for the PlayStation or anything like that. I don't think so. But I don't know, I feel like it's important to talk about MediEvil, especially not just today being Halloween, but like in general, because like Spyro, this series turns 20 in 2018. So it's celebrating its 18th birthday. It celebrated its 18th birthday actually October 1st. So really funny how it started at the first day of the month that is Halloween. So I thought that was really funny. But should there be like a reboot or another sequel to MediEvil? Should MediEvil have a new game in its series as of now, as of the modern times, I guess you could say? I phrased the question better in the title. Does MediEvil deserve to be rebooted or to come back in today's, you know, generation of gaming? I think so, because if you really look back to what made it so good, I mean, if you compare, you know, Resident Evil to, you really can't compare Resident Evil to MediEvil, because Resident Evil is like this whole, that's like survival horror, that's like meant to be horror, it's meant to scare you and all that stuff. MediEvil is just kind of set in this era of like knights and wizards and witches and sorcerers, and it has a creepy atmosphere to it, but it's very much, as everyone says, because this is pretty much true, it's very much based off of like such things as Nightmare Before Christmas and various Tim Burton-esque looking films, and that's the aesthetic, and it clearly shows, especially with the music as well. It's really, really well done, and that doesn't really necessarily date it. Not that, you know, I'm not saying Resident Evil is dated or anything else like that at the time was necessarily dated. It all depends on how, you know, you develop your stuff. But MediEvil, since that's what we need to be talking about right now, it's not outdated. The graphics, like everything else from that era, are, but it can very much look at Dark Souls, look at Bloodborne. That's very much, it's not the same era, but it is this kind of, you know, gothic horror setting, which is kind of what I guess MediEvil is sort of going for as well. And you can totally bring that into today's age, and if you just modernize it, and I don't know, now, like, I don't know how they would do it, seeing as, you know, God of War is coming back. That sounds like a random comparison, but hold on. The gameplay style of God of War was always camera behind the back of the character, third-person perspective. Now, with the new God of War that was announced at E3 for the PS4, it's kind of like a Last of Us-esque, you know, behind-the-shoulder third-person view. That's a more modern thing for these kind of, you know, games to do. And MediEvil is a hack and slash game, first and foremost. So, geez, now that I think about it, this would be right up Weston's alley. He really is into Dark Souls and Bloodborne on that right now, and a hack and slash game set in this specific time period with some really cool aesthetics, really bumping music. If MediEvil came back, I think Weston would play it. But anyway, so where was I going with this? I literally lost my train of thought right now. If you brought it back, oh, that's what I was saying, the camera angle. With the camera angle, I think it's best to keep it the way they had it in the original games, because it was always either fixed or it was behind Dan's back. So if you kept it like that, not try to do anything a little more modern with it, just so it can fit the look of a modern game, that might be for the better. And believe it or not, there was supposed to be a third MediEvil game, and it got canceled. It was for the PS2. Basically, like the basic synopsis of it was that Dan was going to. It took place right after the events of the second game, so Dan was going to go back in time 100 years before the events of the first game, and I think it was right at the peak of when the Battle of Gelmir was going to happen. So whatever was going to happen from there. I don't remember the rest of the synopsis, but that's the basic synopsis. He was going to go back in time to change it. And it never came out. It got canceled for reasons I didn't really see, but at least they were going to attempt it. And if they brought MediEvil back nowadays, I'm not sure if a sequel is the best way to go, unless they made fun, like some, kind of like how when Crash was in Skylanders, they kind of poked some, meta humor at the fact that, it's been 20 years. So it was to celebrate Crash's 20th anniversary. You can do a thing where, like, it had been 20 years since, the events of MediEvil 2. But I don't know, that just all depends on if this metaphorical game were to happen nowadays, how they would take that. What direction would they write that kind of stuff in? Not really sure. But I think a reboot would be the best thing, because let's kind of backtrack this a little bit. After MediEvil 3 was cancelled, they actually made MediEvil, I believe it's called Resurrection, on the PSP. PS Vita. PSP. It was back in like 05 or something. But basically it was a remake of the first game. So it wasn't like a spiritual sequel, it wasn't like a direct sequel to anything, it was basically just a remake of the first game. Now, with the reboot, you wouldn't want to remake the first game, they already did that. But how that would happen and how that would work, I don't know. If you could add more to the story, you could be more gory as well. Words. Anyway, so, I don't know, I could see it working because it fits a lot of the criteria that a lot of modern games have that kind of go this route of like, and of course you don't want to make it bland and forgettable, but you want, and like every other game, but it's got that criteria of, it's got a darker atmosphere, it has, some violence, well it has violence, it has, fantasy blood, because I didn't see any red blood, maybe there is red blood, but I've been seeing like when you kill zombies and stuff, it's like green blood and all that stuff. That could actually warrant an E rating, if it wasn't already rated T, but I don't know if you would exactly want to push it unless you added more like curse words and whatever else and more whatever kind of for the dialogue to bump it up to an M. I don't think MediEvil would really deserve an M rating. If you kept it at T, that'd be cool. But the thing that separates MediEvil as this darker, I wouldn't call it a horror game. It's a hack and slash with horror-ish, kind of classic horror, mind you, elements. Like it has zombies and sorcerers and witches and all that stuff. But what sets MediEvil apart as that kind of a game from all the other ones that kind of just follow the same routine and all that stuff is that this game has humor, and it's actually pretty legitimately funny. So there's a certain whimsy to this game that, if you want to compare, these two games came out in '98. Spyro is whimsical in the sense of it's fantasy, and it's, really colorful and fun and outgoing and happy for the most part. MediEvil, excuse me, is whimsical in the complete opposite sense. But it has the humor, but it's darker, it's a little more brooding, a little more gloomy. but it doesn't go all out with like Dan's whole thing in the first game is to, you know, slay Zarok and, you know, become the hero he was supposed to be, because, you know, spoilers, in the opening cutscene, as you see, in the actual Battle of Galamir, he was painted as his hero who saved the day when really he got taken up in the first frickin' arrow. That started the whole battle. So, his whole thing is, I need to, you know, if I, you know, defeat Zarok, I can actually be the hero supposed to be back then and all that stuff and yada yada yada, but he's never like, what is my purpose, and I don't know why I've been resurrected. And it's not like this kind of like, you don't have to think too deeply about it. It's one of those games where the plot is just straightforwardly laid out for you, and you just gotta, it's more about the gameplay. Like all the other games I've said, like Crash and Spyro and all those kinds of games, it's all about the gameplay. But the story is pretty developed, it's there, and you know, you got a bunch of characters talking to you about the stuff that you did, and them making fun of you and stuff for being taken out so easily, and all that kind of stuff. But that's the thing. See, there's humor to it. There's some whimsy in a twisted Tim Burton-esque way. And I like that. So if you brought that back and balanced it out to where it's dark enough, it's gloomy enough, but it's funny enough to make it all work as one, the way it did back then in a reboot in today's age, that could work. Seeing as people, old school gamers, will instantly recognize, oh shit, it's MediEvil. Sir Daniel Fortesque is back. And to capture newer gamers who might not have heard of that, you know, game and that series, but know the genre, there's already a huge, you know, fan base of gamers who like hack and slash games. Weston is one of them. And you can instantly be like, play this game. And you don't even have to really necessarily market it as 20 years ago this franchise was born and now it's back. Like, you don't even have to market it that way, just market it as a game. And people will know, or people might not at first, but then they'll eventually find out, like, oh, this is a reboot of, like, the old school MediEvil. It'd be cool. I for one think it could work. So what do you guys think? I don't really have much else to say about that, but the whole point of this video is to be like, this game is awesome, and a lot of people have, you know, a lot of PS1-centric gamers, like, Categoris just recently reviewed it for his Halloween special, and I think a year or two ago, Pad Strikes Back also reviewed it for his Halloween special. So, us PS1 fanatics know this game and will go straight to it for the Halloween season. So, I wanted to talk about it, and because it's 18 this year and it's going to be 20 in 2018 along with Spyro, I figured it was worth bringing up anyway. It just happened to line up really well. So, what do you guys think? Have you played MediEvil? Have you heard of the series? If not, to either one of those, definitely recommend checking them out if you have, you know, a PS3. I'm not sure if they've got a PS4. Definitely get the first game off the PS Store, or go on eBay or Amazon or any kind of local retro game store and see if they have it. Get it, play it, it's awesome. And I think it can do well if they brought it back. If they brought it back and either rebooted it, mainly rebooted it. Like I was saying, if you made a MediEvil 3, it might not be a good time, because you might have missed that time, because the better time would have been to do it with that actual MediEvil 3 game that got cancelled. It wasn't that far off from so MediEvil 1 came out 1998. I did not see when MediEvil 2 came out. It was either 1999 or 2000. I don't know. But Resurrection came out in 05, I believe. 04 or 05. And here's the thing I wanted to mention too before I leave you guys. This was made, this series was made by, SCE Cambridge Studio. I didn't just go look that up. I tried so hard to remember that shit. And I was going to say this at the beginning of the video, now I'm saying it here. But SCE Cambridge Studio made Frogger on the PS1. That's cool, because I love that game. But SCE Cambridge is now known as Gorilla Cambridge. And I think, judging by the logo, I think they're like something of a subsidiary from Guerrilla Games. I believe that's what they're called. The ones who are making Horizon Zero Dawn. And they're still around, thank God, because the last game they made was, it came out this year. It was I saw it like a year or two ago, I think at E3, that Riggs robot combat sports game for the PlayStation VR. It came out like this year. If it's not out already, it came out earlier this year. I remember seeing it too. So that's them. And Gorilla Cambridge is still really close, obviously, to Sony Computer Entertainment. It's just that they're kind of pulling a Rare now, and are kind of just making sports games and other kinds of little, it's kind of cool, but they're sports games. Not these kinds of epic games that they made back in the day. And before this Riggs game, they made Killzone Mercenary, which I think came out in 2013 on the PS Vita. So that was the Vita. But I don't know. And those are the only two titles they've done under this new name. Everything else they did under SCE Cambridge Studio. I remembered it. Anyway, so I don't know. I for one would like to see them possibly return to this, for this hypothetical MediEvil reboot. But that's my thing. Like I always I'm holding out for like the original creators of something to like once they've created that thing, I haven't touched it in years. I always want them to be the ones to come back to it eventually, like later. Like I still want Insomniac to do a Spyro thing for the 20th anniversary, but I don't know how that shit's gonna go. So, what do you guys think? What do you think of, who do you think would be a good fit to make a MediEvil game, like a modern MediEvil reboot, and still capture the feel of what made MediEvil so fun and awesome back then, while still keeping it modern enough and fresh enough to where today's generation would want to play it? Those who haven't heard of MediEvil, or those who just like the general hack and slash genre, with these, classical horror themes still there intact. I think for one it could do well, but I don't know who would be the one to do it. It depends on who does it and if they, developed it well and made it all good. Words, simple words. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. I'm Marcelo. I will see you guys later. Take care. I put on my costume. I don't trick or treat, anymore. But it'd be fun just to mess with some kids. So I'm gonna do that. And oh jeez, you know what? Screw the cloak. I'm gonna put on the hands. I have a Skull T-shirt. It's fine. It's like Sid from the first Toy Story. I can't see through this frickin' mask. I wore this costume, link right here, on West Side Studios. We did the Harlem Shake, that thing that didn't last for very long, like a month or so. Real time, we're doing this real time. I'm Marcelo. I'll see you guys later. Take care. You subscribed for this.